Would it actually be possible to create a complete and utter cohesive working theory of magic, witchcraft, and supernaturalism? Probably not. One could create I suppose, the equivalent of a unifying theory. But in what way? Because a unifying theory related to all forms of spiritual healing, divination, witchcraft, spiritualism, ESP, precognition, prophecy, mediumship. These are all very different disciplines. But there are sort of like overlapping components to them. I was reading a book on mediumship recently, and the medium in question who wrote it said that you're supposed to be the medium to the spirit world, but it is your aura, your energy field, which is the medium for you to access the spirit world. So therefore all of his writing was about the sensitivity to the aura. Nick Franks writes about the understanding or the beliefs about how different aspects of the energy system replenish themselves and different layers operate in different ways, and there's various biorhythmic ways in which the etheric and the astral and all the rest of it operates. That's a different thing altogether. That's perceiving the energy of the aura, the energy of the human energy system, as being the subject of study. There are similarities, of course, with the radionic method in the fact that you're invoking a symbol, and the symbol itself is supposed to have resonance of certain types, which can then counteract maybe some other negative energy. But it's a question of knowing what the right energy is, what the right symbol for that is, what layer of the aura it's there for, and putting all of this together with the right intentionality based upon your ability to understand, feel, and perceive those levels of reality. So therefore, radionics must be much more about how you develop yourself spiritually so that you can then perceive the various different layers of the aura. That's again where Barbara Ann Brennan comes into it. Okay, Hands of Light, Light Emerging, read them. Mediumship, on the other hand, is very different, of course. The concept of it is different. The way in which it operates is different. The developmental exercises specifically for mediumship involve opening up tremendously. The exercises of astral projection, very different to mediumship. I mean, the whole thing about what Sylvan Muldoon and Harold Carrington wrote, that's a completely different thing to what mediumship is about. So that's another form of skill development. Then there's the intellectual components of trying to understand what symbols could mean, which some people will interpret as a spirituality in its own right. There's a lot going on there. I mean, to the most part, when I'm talking about what I call magic, okay, it's more a question of a combination between aspects of mediumship and aspects of ESP put together in a more formalized, semi-ceremonial manner. Phil Hine once said you can't tell when a ritual begins. Does it start with the initial banishment, or does it start with the saltwater bath beforehand? You know what I mean? The mental preparation of when you're getting yourself ready to do something weird. My interpretation would be that, yes, the idea of putting energy into a place or a situation or a person to create change has a degree of validity to it. Whether it is a question of entrainment or sending, I think these two things are qualitatively different when you're experiencing them. Nick Frank speaks about entrainment. You're entraining a pattern in a patient a long way away. But when you read things like the Lesser Key of Solomon and the medieval grimoires, you see that the attitude there is very, very different. It is a question of a perception of spirits, and the spirits have to be addressed in a certain way. And therefore it's more about the theologies associated with the existence of spirits of that nature and of that order. But that will be a theological discussion, not a discussion based upon skill development for specific things. Okay, skill development for specific things. What is it you're trying to achieve or create, or what changes are you trying to make happen? What experiences are you trying to have? Is your path of self-development appropriate for what it is you're trying to achieve? And if not, why not? And what other books can you read, and what other exercises can you do that would then bring you alongside that level of quality of understanding and ability? I think a lot of my attitude should be focusing on the self-training. Because I think it's better that we have a world full of people who are prepared to experiment and have these experiences and then to be convinced themselves. So therefore it's a question of what specific things can people introduce into their lives which could work up to a proper anomalous experience of one type or another, whether it's milder or whether it's stronger, and then to see what happens and how they change and how they adapt as a result of having had the experience. In my case, I'm still trying to understand, if I'm really honest, the ghost experience I had at the age 4. I'm still trying to understand all the things that's happened since then, okay? I can still be afraid of this stuff. I can still freak out. And that can be a bar, that can be a bar to development and practice and experience and the rest of it. But the search goes on, and so too will the work to try and get something close to a cohesive understanding of paranormalism, even for those people who have no spirituality at all. That will be a challenge, but that will also be a necessary positive thing to try and achieve. The world could be a better place if spiritual experience is more widely understood and experienced, and psychic experience and magical experiences are also more widely had, because there's other discussions we'll have to have once the experiences are being had by more people, if you know what I mean. Alright? Speak to you in a while. Keep cool.